So your body has to have somewhere to store all this garbage, okay? Because your body doesn't allow all these toxins to just float around in your bloodstream and cause havoc. So your body puts them, in your bones and in other places, but it primarily stores them in your fat.
Welcome to the Calorie Conundrum Podcast with Coach Strick. Join us as we expand the weight loss conversation to beyond just calories and dare to ask the question, why does eating less and exercising more sometimes not produce the desired results? Here's Coach Strick to discuss this Calorie Conundrum.
Hello and welcome to the Calorie Conundrum Podcast. This is Coach Strick. And I'm excited because today I have the detox expert Wendy Myers on the show. The word detox has become a buzzword in today's society, but Wendy, founder of myersdetox.com and heavy metals detox expert, helps us understand what detox means and why we should be doing it. A functional diagnostic nutritionist and #1 bestselling author of Limitless Energy, How to Detox Toxic Metals to End Exhaustion and Chronic Fatigue, Wendy hosts the Myers Detox Podcast about all things related to detox. She's passionate about educating people on the importance of detox to live a long, disease-free life and has helped thousands around the world do just that. Let's hear what Wendy has to say about the toxins in our environment and how to detox them. Wendy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you're a health coach and you're an expert in detox. How did you become an expert in detox?
Well, I was dealing with my own health issues at one point. About 10 years ago, I just had a baby and I was having trouble losing the baby weight. And that's really trouble losing weight. It was like what got me into starting my website, myersdetox.com. But I'd studied health my whole life, was interested in it. But, I was having just trouble losing weight. I was working out 6 to 8 hours a week. I was eating a perfect, fairly low carbohydrate, organic diet. I made all my own food. It was all organic, farmer's market, fresh. I was taking all the best supplements and just doing everything right. I had all the boxes, check marked. And I just couldn't lose weight. It was just really, really slow. And I thought, God, 10 years ago, I would have been an Olympic athlete doing this routine, and it just wasn't working. And so I went to the doctor. I'm like, figure out what's wrong with me, run every test. I went to like a functional medical doctor, and she found out I had low thyroid function, I had adrenal fatigue, and I had, she wanted to do like hormone replacement therapy. She said I had the hormone levels of a menopausal woman at 37, which I was thrilled to hear that, believe me. And it's because I'm 49 now, but maybe this was like 12 years ago. But and so I went on Dr. Google and I thought, what causes low hormones? Because I didn't want to go on hormone replacement therapy. That just wasn't how I had envisioned my life at 37, and how long do I have to take these, and don't they cause cancer and whatnot? So I just kept hitting upon, chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals, causing hormone problems, and a kind of light bulb went off in my head. I know about mercury and I know about lead and arsenic and other things, and pesticides, of course, but I didn't really think that they applied to me, because I was so healthy, because I ate so healthy and I was living a super healthy lifestyle. And so I just started digging more and more and more, and I just was really shocked by what I was learning. And I had a new baby, so I was trying to protect her as well, eating, feeding her organic food and all that stuff. So I just started digging more and more, and I wanted to tell more people about this. It just like something lit up inside me, where this passion where I wanted to tell people about the dangers of heavy metals and toxins. And so here we are talking today. And I've done a lot of research on toxins that kind of undermine weight loss or cause resistant weight loss.
Yeah, so that's kind of the same reason why this podcast exists, because I just saw that people are trying to lose weight and they're being told the same thing over and over and over again. Eat less, exercise more, eat less, exercise more. And so I started researching for myself, what's going on with this weight loss deal. And just like you, I started finding all these other areas of that affect your health that people don't know about. Like today in today's society, in regards to like detox, if you say the word detox, most people are like, oh, that's not real, that doesn't work. I mean, there's that's some sham just trying to make money. Could you talk about that word detox and what that really means to you, and the difference between what you're talking about as far as detox and what people might have in their head as far as what detox is?
Yeah, so when I talk about detoxification, it's about, based on research that the World Health Organization has done research showing that people have, on average, have 500 to 700 chemicals in their bodies. Those are obviously not producing a wealth of health, and people also have dozens of heavy metals. And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like juice detoxing or eating salads for a month or anything like that. What I talk about is only based on research. And so you can look on myersdetox.com. Every article has, 10 to even one article has 180 citations. The one that I did on hormones. On how hormones impact, how pesticides and chemicals impact your hormones. So everything's research-based, and and there's a lot of, I think, misconceptions where people think, oh, you don't need to detox. Oh, we have detox organs. A lot of medical doctors will say that, oh, a detox is a scam or whatever. But I think that's coming from a point of view of ignorance, where maybe they don't have any education about it. They don't have any experience with it. They haven't, done testing, or they don't understand how to interpret the heavy metals tests. And so they don't know how to do the testing correctly. And so there's a lot of, ignorance around that. But the fact is that your number one detox organ, the liver, 100 million people in the United States alone have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And that's the precursor to metabolic syndrome. But if your liver is not working properly, you're going to have a compromised ability to detox. And that's just the people that have a diagnosable condition. That's not even the people with like maybe underfunctioning livers or subclinical liver function. And compound that with the fact that if you look around you, just you're in your room, your desk, everything has metal in it. That's all coming from somewhere. It's being drudged up from the Earth's crust and then released into the atmosphere, into the air, food and water, into the ocean. It gets into the fish, and it gets into our bodies. With in addition to all the industrial practices and the smokestacks you see everywhere, and other developing countries use leaded gasoline still. That gets into the atmosphere and gets sent to all over the planet. And our food is incredibly toxic. A lot of the practices, farming practices and whatnot. So the information is out there, people want to find it, but the toxins are coming in faster than our bodies are able to detox them. We do have detox mechanisms. Say in like caveman times, we didn't encounter mercury and lead and other toxins as much, and so our bodies were able to detox what we encountered, and we have mechanisms for that. But today, when we have estimated between 80,000 to 100,000 chemicals, and we have dozens of heavy metals, I mean, our bodies just can't keep up. And there are certainly exceptions to that. There are certainly some people that have these Olympic livers and these amazing detox genetics, and they can drink and smoke until they're 100 and not have any problems. And there's those people out there. That's probably not you. And on the other side of the spectrum, there are the people that are very, very sick, that have chronic fatigue syndrome and other health issues. And those are typically the people with compromised detoxification pathways, where the toxins are just coming in, and they don't have a way to get out. So they start impacting all the different organ systems and mitochondria production. And so the people that are more sick tend to have more problems with toxin and toxin accumulation.
Yeah, so when you're discussing detox, you're talking about a scientific validated issue that's happening in humans throughout the world, and it's a compounding effect is what we're seeing. Yes, we have these organs of detoxification like the liver, but because there is so much, so many toxins coming from so many different places, our liver gets overwhelmed. And when your liver gets overwhelmed and it can't perform its job effectively, then you start getting symptoms. Some of those symptoms are pains, fatigue, and in my opinion, one of the symptoms is being overweight. So could we dive into like how these things are affecting people's ability to lose weight and making them gain weight? Could you talk about on that topic?
Yes, I can talk for like 3 hours on the subject. Yeah, so number one, arsenic is a big one. Arsenic is found in, conventional chickens, rice, conventional eggs. It's used in the feed of chickens around the world because it makes chickens grow faster and it makes the meat look pink. So arsenic will poison an enzyme that transports triglycerides out of your fat cells. So I was very arsenic toxic at the time when I was trying to lose weight. And so arsenic is a big one. And then if you...
just a second.
Yeah.
So they're purposely putting that in the feed of chickens?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's a practice around the world because chicken farmers are paid by the weight of their chicken. And if your chicken grows 50% faster, you're going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
And so it's added by the commercial chicken feed manufacturers.
Yeah. That's
nice. And then it's going to be in the eggs also of those chickens, so you need to eat, organic pastured chicken eggs so that those are not going to have the arsenic in them. And it's also in rice. It's in, the non-organic rices, especially from, Asia and India, where a lot of the cheaper rice is from there. And I don't eat brown rice because, brown rice can typically accumulate a lot more metals like arsenic in the endosperm on the outside of it. And I don't like brown rice anyway. So, And so, those are just some simple tips, but, arsenic can be in water also, but literally arsenic will prevent your ability to release fat out of the fat cells. And then there are, not to mention all of the pesticides, there's all these kind of fat soluble toxins like pesticides. Pesticides are the main ones. There's also a lot of fat soluble toxins in beauty products like parabens, which are a preservative that you see in a lot of the conventional and department store, beauty products. Petroleum-based products, perfumes. Perfumes are petroleum-based products, fragrances. So your body has to have somewhere to store all this garbage, okay? Because your body doesn't allow all these toxins to just float around in your bloodstream and cause havoc. So your body puts them, in your bones and in other places, but it primarily stores them in your fat. And so if you aren't able to detox your body effectively, if you aren't able to, if you don't have like the right nutrients, you don't have enough energy, you're not doing detox protocols like infrared saunas or other things like that, your body has to store this stuff somewhere. And so if you have like a muffin top, or say you've just worked out so hard and you've got that last 10 or 15 pounds to lose and it just will not budge no matter what you do, your body's innately intelligent. It's not letting all that garbage go and release into your system until you have enough, until you have like the nutrients and the energy and other things and whatnot to deal with it.
Yeah, so blowing my mind with this chicken arsenic thing. But I'm sure there's lots of different things that the average person is unaware of. And a common feeling that I think people have is like, well, if I take this toxin in, then I'll just pee it out, or, it'll just come out of my body some way. And what you just said kind of, explain that. Yeah, it does that to a certain capacity, but if the system is overloaded, then those toxins aren't just going to be floating around in the body. And so your body has to do something with those toxins. And so, like you said, it's storing it in the fat. So what other things should we be on the lookout for, and what are they going to do to our body, and how is it going to affect our weight loss?
So we're talking about things to do to detox the body, or
what specifically is causing it? Like you said, arsenic. What other? You said heavy metals, but specifically, what metals or what chemicals or what should we be looking out for?
Well, I mean, just there's so many different types of pesticides. I can't really, go in too much detail. I mean, people just really need to eat organic food, and that brings your pesticide levels down really a lot. A glyphosate is a huge one, and so I'll go down different toxins and what organ systems they affect. And how that impacts your ability to lose weight, okay? Because if you're doing everything right like I was and you're still not losing weight, this is why. So glyphosate is the most popular pesticide. It's an herbicide actually in the, used around the world. And what it does is it goes into your body, it chelates minerals. And so if you don't have enough minerals in your body, and that's how it kills weed. It chelates the minerals, it grabs on the minerals and gets rid of them. So you're literally become mineral deficient. And when you're mineral deficient, you're going to crave food. Your body is going to make you eat until you get the nutrients that it needs to function properly. And for me, this is such a huge wake-up call, because when I first started on my detox program, I took a lot of minerals. I did this hair mineral analysis test and was very mineral deficient. And I started taking tons of minerals, and I wasn't craving food anymore. I wasn't craving, salt and vinegar potato chips. And I was just really shocked by that. And it's because my body had the nutrients that it needed. So I didn't need to crave. So I know there are a lot of people out there having trouble losing weight, that they just have these voracious cravings and they don't know how to conquer them. Well, mineral deficiency is a huge underlying root cause. It's not the only root cause, but it's one of them. And it's a very simple one to remedy just by taking trace minerals and magnesium and zinc and things like that. And then glyphosate also destroys your gut microbiome. And so it's essentially like, it acts like an antibiotic. And so and it also just promotes promotes leaky gut in a way where you have like these junctures and these cells lining your gut, and that they have to be really, really tight. And when they become loose, you can get undigested proteins coming through, and then your immune system launches a reaction to these proteins that it doesn't recognize, and it's a food sensitivity reaction that causes inflammation throughout your entire body. That is a big contributor to weight gain. So the glyphosate also kills your good gut flora, and if you want to be a healthy weight, you have to have a good balance between bad and good gut bugs. And so glyphosate kills a lot of your good stuff. Smoking kills a lot of your good gut bugs. Sugar. There's a lot of different practices, unhealthy practices people have that destroy the healthy flora and fauna in your gut. So that's essential. But there's a lot of metals like copper, mercury. There's a lot of other, like chlorine. If that's added to our shower water. You go swimming a lot. There's so many different things that kill our gut microbiome and contribute to resistant weight loss or weight gain. There's so many things I can go into. There's things like there's metals that interfere in energy production. So you have to have energy to have a good metabolism, to lose weight, and to sleep well. You have to have energy to sleep. You have to have sleep's a very energy intensive process. Sleep is very regenerative and restorative. So there's heavy metals like arsenic, aluminum, tin, thallium, and cesium that poison enzymes that transport nutrients into our mitochondria, which are our cells' powerhouses. They make our body's energy. Okay, and so if you're not able to make enough energy because you have a plethora of these heavy metals, and not to mention mercury and lead also contribute to this problem, you're just not going to have that energy to work out. You're not going to have energy to power your brain. You're not going to have energy to digest your food. And a lot of people they hit their 30s and 40s and they start feeling more and more tired, and they just think they're getting older. No, that's a bunch of nonsense, because hunter-gatherer tribes, they are hunting and gathering and very energetic and healthy into their 60s and 70s and 80s without heart disease, without cancer, health problems, autoimmune, etc. And then you have things like things that impact your thyroid. So if you don't have a healthy thyroid function, you're going to have a depressed metabolism. You're going to have a slower metabolism, and it's going to be much harder to lose weight and have resistant weight loss. So the number one thing working against your thyroid is mercury. Okay, and then there's fluoride. People are brushing their teeth every day with fluoride toothpaste. That's the dumbest thing that you can do, because that fluoride it displaces your thyroid hormone. It prevents your thyroid's ability to make thyroid hormone. So fluoride is very toxic to the thyroid. Then you have chlorine, like I mentioned, chlorine, all these halogens kind of displace iodine in your thyroid. So iodine is what your thyroid hormones are made of. And so if you're ingesting fluoride, chlorine from your shower water or pools or jacuzzi, and bromine, which is found in breads, a lot of like commercially produced breads, these things will displace iodine and prevent your body's ability to make thyroid hormone, which revs up your metabolism. But like I said, mercury poisons the thyroid in like 4 different ways. I won't really go into that, but mercury is a very, very common in our environment because it's released from coal burning in our environment, and then it settles into our oceans and it bioaccumulates in our fish. And I'm not saying don't eat fish, because all of our food's contaminated. Animal protein, vegetables, seaweed, fish, it doesn't matter. So we don't want to vilify any one food group or avoid fish because it has mercury. But you want to avoid more toxic fish like tuna and mackerel and swordfish, things like that. Those are very high in mercury. Shark. But you want to eat the foods that you want, eat foods, but you want to be on a sensible detoxification program to get rid of what you are accumulating on a daily basis.
So earlier you just said you listed off a list of metals, heavy metals, and you talked about mercury and arsenic and lead. But where should we be on the lookout for some of these other metals you mentioned, like tin, copper, and those things? Where are we getting exposed by those things? Where are they coming from?
Yeah, well, copper can be from copper IUDs women have. They can be from copper pipes leading to people's homes. They can be from eating like a vegetarian diet, because the vegetarian diet is, it's fine if that works for your body, but there's just a certain reality with that. You're eating a lot of high copper foods like beans and nuts and not enough zinc. That's found that primarily the only absorbable form is in animal proteins. It's and so you just have to supplement zinc, but it's not the same as getting it from dark red meats. That's what makes the red meat dark, is iron and zinc. That's in that. But there's also things like with the lead. We're getting that from, galvanized pipes that are bringing the water into our homes, especially if you live in an older home. Lead is also present in just the air. So we breathe it in. It's also in more than half of homes where you have leaded paint in the walls of your home. So anyone that's just doing like restoring their home or knocking down a wall, you don't want to be living in that home because you're going to be breathing in all that lead dust. If your neighbor is sanding and scraping the paint off their house, that's sending tons of lead into your yard. That can be devastating for a young child or a baby to their IQ. There's a lot of sources of these toxins. I think a lot of municipal water sources that are using chloramine instead of chlorine, that chloramine is just etching that lead off these galvanized pipes that are, bringing the water into your home. And so there's just a lot of lead sources. Plus it's passed down from mother to child. Lead tends to build up in our bones. It accumulates in our bones. And so when a mother gets pregnant and has a baby, she passes all of her toxins on to the baby as well. And then I talked about thallium. Thallium is very, very common. It's something that's in petroleum deposits. So anywhere where you're having, auto exhaust or industry that's using petroleum for fuel, that's releasing thallium into the air, and then we breathe that in. Aluminum, that's in our underarm deodorant, also in the air. It's being sprayed in the air as part of like a geoengineering that's going on. And then there's also, it's an anti-caking agent in flour and salt and sugar. And it's in a lot of different products. It's a drying agent. It's in aluminum cans as well. So there's just as I'm listing these, you can kind of imagine this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. But I have an article on my website called the Toxic Metals Sources and Symptoms Guide. It has every metal and all the sources of it and the symptoms of that heavy metal toxicity.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was getting ready to go is, if I was just, Joe Schmo out in the world living my life, don't know anything about this type of toxin, heavy metals and whatnot. how would you start with them, or what would you say to them? What would be like the most important takeaways for someone that has no idea about any of this stuff? What should they be focusing on?
Yeah, so the number one thing is eating organic. That's probably the easiest thing that somebody can do. The next most effective thing they can do if they're really, this is resonating with them, they want to start detoxing their body, an ionic foot bath is probably the most effective, easiest thing that people can do for detoxification. And so I only recommend the Ion Cleanse by AMD. You can get it at amajordifference.com. That's where they have them. That for me has been the single most effective tool for detoxification. And it's really easy to do. You can just do it sitting at your desk working or watching TV or what have you. And that gets everything out, all the metals, the chemicals, even radiation. It just gets so much stuff out of your body. But also you can do infrared saunas if you like saunas or you have a sauna. That's amazing for detoxing. It's just some people don't like sweating, or some people they're not well enough to tolerate the heat, or they just have a health issue that's contraindicated for saunas. So those people can just use the ionic foot bath. But yeah, liver support, if it's something more simple, supporting your liver, eating liver supportive foods like broccoli sprouts are the #1 detox food on the planet. Eating onions, garlic, ginger, and and egg yolks and broccoli sprouts. So those are the top 5 detox foods. So they give you lots of sulfur and sulforaphane and other nutrients that you need for detoxification. Because, toxins in your body, they need to have sulfurs or vitamin C or lipoic acid. They have to have something to attach to, for your liver to attach to them to escort them politely out of the body. And so they need the tools. So if you're someone who doesn't eat a lot of vegetables, or you're allergic to eggs, or you don't like garlic, or whatever the deal is, you're going to have a compromised ability to detox. You need sulfur, but you can take like Epsom salt baths, very mild effect, but at least you're getting some sulfur with that magnesium sulfate that's in the Epsom salts. Other things people do, take silica. So I have a product called Ageless AF, and it has a specific form of silica in it that is called orthosilicic acid, and that will bind onto the arsenic, aluminum, tin, thallium, and cesium that I talked about that are mitochondrial poisons. So that's the best way to get rid of those metals. Those are kind of the more effective ways. So lots of things you can do.
Okay, if someone was like trying to lose weight and they're struggling, how would they determine if heavy metals or toxins are an issue for them?
Well, they are, because there's no exception to the rule. Everyone has toxins in them. It's impossible to live on the planet or live in an urban city and not have some level of toxins in your body that are impacting some organ system in your body, that are affecting your brain or your nervous system or your liver or your ability to digest food or your immune system or your thyroid, your adrenals. Heavy metals and chemicals impact every different organ system in the body. So it's statistically impossible not to have toxins affecting you in some way. They just affect people differently based on their genetic kind of weaknesses or genetic issues, genetic propensities. But if someone is having trouble losing weight, I assure you, you want to be looking at detoxification as like maybe the next step. If you're checking all the boxes, if you're really eating a fantastic diet, if you're trying to do low carbohydrate, which by the way, a lot of women can't do low carb because they can't tolerate the high fat diet. They can't do a keto diet because their liver is a mess. Their liver just can't tolerate it. And so a lot of women go on keto long term, and they have a problem with their hormones because of it, because you need, they just have various issues. They can, not everyone. But it's, if you really are, you're working out a lot, you've done the low carb, the high fat diets, you feel like you're doing everything, and you reduce your stress. Because if you're stressed, you're not going to lose weight. It's not going to happen for you. So if you've addressed all these things and you're sleeping well and you're doing everything right, and you're still not getting the results that you feel like you should for your efforts, I assure you, you want to be looking at toxins, because your body is storing toxins in that fat, and it's not letting them go until your body is ready to deal with those toxins.
So let's say I was struggling with weight loss, and you tell me that toxins are an issue, but I don't believe you. Is there some way you can like prove to the person, like, is there tests that you can run, or something to convince me more that that's actually an issue? Because I've been eating this way my whole life, and yada yada.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People can be healthy their whole life up to a point where they get a certain level of toxin accumulation. They reach this tipping point where it affects their health and their mood and their weight and their metabolism and their thyroid, and they're all of a sudden like, what's going on? And they think they're just getting old, but that's not the case. But so you can do tests. There's the first test I run is a hair mineral analysis. And it's a very simple, non-invasive, cheap test. People can do it at home, and very inexpensive and easy to do. And so there's no perfect heavy metals test, though. If you want to get your whole, look at your whole body burden of metals, you have to do a urine and a stool test also, because different metals have different exit routes in the body. So some we see them best in the hair, some we see them best in the urine, some we see them best in the stool. But for the majority of people, they only need to do a hair mineral analysis, and doing a detox program based on a hair mineral analysis will get all the metals and chemicals that they have. So if someone's really curious and they want to do all the tests and get that information, they certainly can. I certainly did, at some point, and not in the beginning, I didn't know about the urine and stool test, but I started with hair mineral analysis. But at some point, I did urine and stool, and I was like, wow, still have metals, these metals I didn't know about in my body. But sometimes when people first do testing, their body's really tired, their body's not detoxing well, so they may not have a lot of metals or any metals on their initial tests. And so this can be quite common, actually. But when people begin a detox program where they're taking minerals, which push out metals, if they're taking lipoic acid and they're taking glutathione and they're taking other nutrients and antioxidants that are needed to push toxins out of the body, they're doing infrared saunas, maybe they're doing coffee enemas to stimulate their liver function, or if they're doing ionic foot baths, something of this nature, then the next round of tests they do, they're going to see a lot more metals coming out, because their bodies, we've got that detox machine cranking, and at full gear. So that's something to be warned about when doing tests. You have to do the right kind of tests, and you have to have someone that knows how to read those tests and interpret them properly. I think that's maybe the biggest challenge. Is I think there's a lot of practitioners out there that don't actually know how to read the tests, or don't have a full knowledge of all the metals and chemicals that are out there. They're just looking at the ones that they're testing for. But at Myers Detox, this is all we do. That's what we specialize in. And I have a whole team of practitioners I personally train, so we know how to interpret the tests.
Yeah, that's important to kind of keep track and see what's going on. I think to run a test and see where you're at and see the progress as you go along. So if someone were to come to you as a client with one of your coaches or yourself, and they wanted to lose weight, the process would be hair mineral analysis, recommendation of eating organic. What other tips and tricks would you give people that you're coaching to help this weight loss process, go down the path?
Yes. So, it's, for me, I think it's better to test, not guess. So it's good to know what heavy metals you're working with. It's because, you want to take targeted supplements that are specifically for the different heavy metals that you may have. But if you don't want to do testing, or you can't afford it or whatever, you can start just eating the top 5 detox foods I talked about. You can do organic food. But another thing you have to do is reduce stress. And I talk more and more about emotional trauma. I have a course coming out called the Emotional Detox Program, and I've created 30 videos that go into our emotional trauma and how to transmute them out of your energy field. Because many times when people they're looking at a physical solution to their weight loss, and the reality is, the research shows that emotional traumas cause 65% plus of physical health issues, and that includes weight loss. And emotional trauma is this constant stressor that's going on, especially if you've had early childhood neglect, emotional, physical, sexual abuse. That is residing in your energy field. And the research shows the emotions are not in your brain anywhere, they're in your energy field. There's an imprint in your energy field. And that's where emotional traumas and negative emotions need to be addressed, or they're just kind of a constant drain. They're a constant, they're just ever present. And they cause you to have this high stress set point that no matter how much you do yoga or meditate or try to, say positive affirmations or whatever you're doing, you just can't reduce that stress level. And so you have this constant production of like stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, and that eventually your adrenals just give out, and you're not sleeping well. You have like this self-perpetuating cycle, like this stress PTSD, like you can't get out of this cycle of, and it causes a lot of different health issues, this constant stress level, and people just don't have a conscious awareness of it. And so that's another thing I think is really important to address, is addressing your emotional trauma for losing weight, because you can do the yoga, but then you go right after you're done, you go back to your high stress set point, for instance. So I go into all the research and all the details and how to transmute negative emotions and emotional trauma out of your field and release that for good. And it's all very, very heavily based on the research. I'm really excited for that to come out, because that's a huge, huge piece of the puzzle that I think is people are, kind of very late to the party when it comes to that. Because, and I did that same route where I was like, oh, I got to work on my diet. Oh, I got to do more exercise. Oh, I need to go to bed hungry. Oh, I need to take better fat burning supplements. And then it was like, oh, I need to do the toxins. Now I discovered that. And then now it's, for me, I'm working on the emotional trauma aspect and, educating people about that, because that's that last piece of the puzzle that people need if all the other things didn't work. You need all the pieces, to be your healthiest self and to feel good and be your healthiest weight, your optimized weight. But that emotional trauma piece, I think, is the last thing that people come to, if at all.
So how do you work with that? How do you get that out of the body? Is that a talk process? Or?
No, it's definitely not a talk process. Yapping doesn't work. And so that's, because that you can only talk about things you're consciously aware of. And the majority of your traumas and parental attachment trauma and other things are in your subconscious. You're not aware of them, or how they're driving your behavior, or addictions, or overeating, or your stress levels and your poor sleep and things like that. So how that's what Professor van der Kolk said. He's done studies with tens of thousands of people on trauma, and he said yapping doesn't work. So the therapy is great to have awareness of yourself and your behavior, but to get to the root cause of traumas, that you have to work in this energy field. So we have an energy field around us, and the majority of our communication in our body happens in this energy field. It happens with our neurotransmitters and our hormones and things like that, but through our nervous system. But the majority of communication in our body happens in this energy field. So these traumas have an energetic imprint in our energy field, and that's where we need to work with them to release them. So you can do sound therapy, you can do biofield tuning. You can listen to certain meditations that have frequencies in them, like solfeggio frequencies, are very, very healing. There's free videos on YouTube people can watch, using the 174 megahertz and the 526 megahertz are very healing for your body. And so there's just, there's another conversation about EMFs and Wi-Fi and how that, your computers and the Wi-Fi internet and your cell phones, those negatively impact your energy field and your weight also. So in the emotional detox program I've created, we just talk about all this stuff in detail and all the research behind it. It's an exhaustive amount of research that went into this course, and it's really interesting and very compelling.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because there's so many people out there that are trying. They're giving it, 100% effort in the eating less and exercising more and trying to reduce the stress and all that stuff, but still not getting results. And so today, yeah, you've talked about two different things that a lot of people have probably never even heard of, as far as metal, detoxes, heavy metals, and then the emotional part as well. And these are two very important parts that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, we're going deep. Okay, we are going deep at Myers Detox because this is for me. I mean, literally, I started my website because I was having trouble losing weight. That was literally my driving factor, and so I've really gone into just for my own health journey, trying to figure out like what is going on, like why am I not at the weight that I want to be at. For whatever reason. And so we all have, there's a lot of different underlying factors why people are overweight or why they have resistant weight loss. And so I've really delved into all of these different things. But when you address these different things, it's, toxins and chemicals and emotional trauma, there's so many more benefits besides weight loss. The weight loss is certainly awesome. But you're really addressing all of your health, addressing your body systemically and holistically as well. And weight loss is just a nice side effect of that.
Yeah, exactly. And so if someone, let's say someone was struggling and they came to you, what words of advice would you give them to either hang in there or, what recommendations would you give them, to lift their spirits, I guess you could say?
Yeah, so if they're having trouble losing weight. Well, The thing is that the answers are out there. We all have to kind of play detective and figure out the underlying root causes of weight loss or resistant weight loss. And so the answers are out there. You're not just old, you're not just, it's not just your hormones. There's not one simple answer, okay? But the answers are out there. They absolutely are. Like I'm 49, and I work very hard on my health. It's one of those things you get into it, out of something, what you put into it. You reap what you sow. So you can't, you can't go work out, maybe 30 minutes, 3 times a week and, eat organic. And if you're not losing weight, you can't expect some miracles to happen with that. You have to dig a little bit deeper and be like a detective. And listening to this podcast is, or the first steps, being curious and, educating yourself, because you have to be your own health advocate. Your doctor doesn't have enough time to spend. Most people don't have enough resources to go visit all these different functional medical doctors. You really have to be your own advocate and dig and try to find out all this information. And that was me. I was the patient at one point and trying to figure all this stuff out. But I think I've done a really good job, figuring out all these underlying root causes of resistant weight loss. And I have tons of free resources on myersdetox.com. I've got 400 podcasts and over 300 articles that talk all about, lots of weight loss articles, but, lots of free resources on how to detox your body and detox your life and your house and whatnot.
Yeah. So, there's, in the past, we could just kind of, just live our life. But in today's society, there's just so much that's negatively affecting our health, whether it's the food, the EMFs, the heavy metals, all this stuff. Then you add on the emotional issues on top of that. And like you said, you have to be a proactive, advocate for your own health, because no one else is going to do it for you. Especially when their end game is to make money off of you being sick. They're not going to coach you on these type of things. You have to find the information for yourself, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So Wendy, if people want to get a hold of you or find out more, you said something about your podcast and your website. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yes, yeah. So I host, there's some thunder. Yeah, so I host the Myers Detox Podcast. And so that's everywhere, you can watch podcasts. And like I said, I've got lots of shows on weight loss. Probably need to do some more that you guys can dig into if you want to go.
There's a lot in there, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to dig a little deeper on that subject. Lots of weight loss articles on myersdetox.com as well. And you can find me on Instagram, all the social media on Myers Detox, and on YouTube at Wendy Myers, youtube.com/Wendy Myers. Because I was early in this game.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. You got lots of good resources on your YouTube channel, and then on your website, just full of articles and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're coming from a place of experience. Like you said, you got into this because you're trying to fix yourself, and then you're also incorporating the actual what the science is saying, and you're utilizing that to help people with their health and their weight loss. So
yeah, I have a weight loss program too, as well, where I talk about all these subjects in depth as well. It's a 14-day weight loss program that I have.
There you go. All right, Wendy. Well, thanks for coming on today, and have a good one.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Wendy. The idea of toxins can be quite overwhelming, and when there are so many toxins in so many different places, one might feel like giving up on detoxing before they even begin. I would urge the listener to take baby steps towards understanding and implementing a detox lifestyle. As Wendy discussed in this episode, start by learning where some of these toxins are located, and then start eliminating or avoiding them over time. Also, begin adding a few detox foods, and then add more foods, supplements, and detox protocols over time. Detox may sound like a fad, or you may hear some experts say there's no such thing as a detox. But in today's world, detoxing is an essential practice to achieve and maintain optimal health. And with that said, this is Coach Strick saying thanks for listening, and remember, when calories in, calories out doesn't work, that, my friend, is a calorie conundrum.
This podcast, including Coach Strick and guests, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects for the use of any information contained herein. Coach Strick and/or guests may recommend products or services in which they have a direct or indirect financial interest. To find out more, please visit www.calorieconundrum.com.